Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leslie Powell Boudreau, and I'm the Executive Director of Legal Services in North Florida. Thank you so much for joining us on this third day of the Elder Justice Conference. I hope that you've had a wonderful first 2 days and are ready for an excellent and amazing second day of continuing to learn about how we can best serve elders in our communities. I'm here today to introduce Attorney General Ashley Moody. As a native Floridian, she has done some amazing work for not just the legal profession in Florida, but also for those who are most vulnerable in our communities. She has both her undergraduate and her law degrees from the University of Florida and received her LLM in international law from Stetson University's College of Law. After law school, she joined a firm with a culture of service at Holland and Knight, where she volunteered to help and serve victims of domestic violence. She then moved on to continue her public service career with the U.S. Attorney's Office, serving as a prosecutor. And then in 2006, she was elected circuit judge of the 13th Judicial Circuit as the youngest judge in Florida. She started a system at that time to make sure that children in the dependency system received representation when their parents weren't there by recruiting volunteer attorneys to stand in for those absent parents. She served as an adjunct professor at Stetson and then also worked with the Florida's New Judges College as an instructor. In 2015, she was recognized by the National Legal Services Corporation for her significant contributions to pro bono service. She's also received the Florida Supreme Court Distinguished Judicial Service Award. In 2019, she became Florida's 38th Attorney General and has served on the Presidential Commission of Law Enforcement and Administration of Justice and chairs the statewide task force on opioid abuse and the statewide council on human trafficking. Again, truly a career in service, and we thank you so much, Attorney General Moody, for being here for the Elder Justice Conference today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Leslie, for that kind introduction. And for those of you that don't remember, I was with this group about 2 years ago, right after taking office. And I shared with you that one of my top priorities was going to be protecting Florida seniors. And folks at the time, I think, were surprised that, someone who had been the youngest judge in Florida coming into office as the AG, their top priority would be preventing elder fraud and exploitation. But many folks at that time learned, as I announced and she was with me, I grew up with a legal services mother who dedicated her career to protecting Florida seniors. And so the stories that I heard growing up have stuck with me my entire life. And so for me, this was something that I felt very passionate about and wanted to use this office to sharpen our tools in the toolbox to better go after those that were targeting Florida seniors. In fact, I do remember when my mother had gone back to law school when I was a young girl. At one point, I told her with a progress report that it was not as great as I think they had wanted it to be. Those grades were not up to snuff. And so she said, "We are going to handle this." So I think she was in the middle of law school at the time. And so I am hoping that my progress report to you and this group 2 years in will be better than that progress report, Mom. So very excited to report on what we've been up to and what we've been handling over the last couple of years. As those of you on this call certainly know, we have over 5 million seniors who now call Florida home. Florida is red hot right now. Folks are moving here from all over the nation, all over the world. Many are seniors wanting to live out their golden years here in Florida. Warm climate, reasonable taxes. It's a great place to be. We all know that as Floridians, and more folks are picking up on that. And so our jobs become harder, especially those of us that are focusing on seniors. So it's been a project of mine to develop programs within the office whose sole focus is to better our efforts at protecting these seniors. And as you know, many are targets of scams and fraud and abuse. And this has only increased with the increase of technology. Seniors that are not tech savvy certainly are disadvantaged against cyber scammers and criminals. And many times they are more likely to fall victim to schemes and deception as and then they are less likely to come forward and report it. So we've been trying to be creative and strategic in developing ways that we can better identify victims, understanding the hesitancy to come forward, and then be more successful and give us more tools in our fight. According to the FBI, scammers will target seniors because of that fact that they're less inclined to report instances of fraud. We also know, based on our own cases and other crime reports, that people most close to seniors will take advantage of them, family members, those who have worked their way into a position of trust. The cases that we have handled are just heartbreaking, and I know that I don't need to tell those of you in this conference the types of situations that seniors often find themselves in. Shortly after taking office, I created a senior protection team within my office to focus on breaking down the barriers that might exist between agencies or within our own office by division, making sure that we all understood that age-old saying that there is no limit to what can be accomplished if you do not care who gets the credit. And so I'm proud to report we have successfully done that, and our folks are working together, not only getting out of their own silos, but by working together, they're able to see that something may not always simply be a civil matter. It can also be a criminal matter and should be a criminal matter. And part of our focus has been educating law enforcement officials, both municipal and county, across the state on when something should be criminally prosecuted when it involves exploitation of a senior. I hired and assigned a full-time prosecutor to focus specifically on senior exploitation. She will be joining you at your conference, Karen Murillo. She's dynamic and truly has a passion for protecting seniors. The senior protection team is made up of attorneys and investigators from our Office of Statewide Prosecution, our Medicaid Fraud Division, and our Consumer Protection team. And they have a sole focus of working together and going after those that are taking advantage of Florida seniors. We also work closely with a volunteer group spread across the state of Florida of seniors who themselves want to help other seniors. We call that project called Seniors v. Crime. They're volunteer seniors. They help us track down instances where seniors are having difficulty or feel they may have been taken advantage of. These senior sleuths, we just released the 2020 numbers, and I'm proud to say they recovered 1.7 million in total refunds and savings for older Floridians last year, even in the face of a pandemic, which, as you know, as I'm sure your work was often affected and challenging because of the pandemic, those seniors that were volunteers getting out, helping, certainly that was affected, and they were still able to recover millions for senior Floridas and help our office in our efforts. They helped 11,000 consumers and dedicated more than 11,400 hours of free assistance to Floridians. It's just amazing. So proud of those volunteers and our attorneys and investigators for their work with them to go after those who were looking to take advantage of seniors. We also worked, and I'm so proud to announce, and many of you on this call were a part of these efforts, but we worked with the elder law section of the Florida Bar, Senator Danny Burgess and Representative Colleen Burton. Our office crafted and worked with them to pass really historic legislation. I would say that Florida is the most forward-thinking state in how to best protect our seniors, and now we have the tools to do it because of this legislation. Couldn't be more proud of the efforts, and proud to say I'm now working with other attorneys general around the nation to consider similar efforts in helping their seniors. The new law that was just passed will help prevent intentional isolation of vulnerable adults, allow for intervention by law enforcement and prosecutors to prevent irreversible physical harm or financial loss to Florida seniors, and it also strengthens accountability of our guardians. My Office of Statewide Prosecution through the legislation was also given broader ability to go after folks that were taking advantage of seniors criminally in our Florida courts. really can't thank enough the elder law section for supporting our efforts, and House Speaker Sprowls and Senate President Simpson, who also knew this was so important to our office and helped make it a reality. As you know, convincing law enforcement many times that something should be investigated criminally takes an expertise and training. And so not only did we bring on a full-time prosecutor, we've now developed trainings for law enforcement, trainings for prosecutors across the state of Florida, and offered to serve as a resource and counsel with them as they're pursuing cases in each of the 20 circuits. You know, it's become increasingly obvious as we're watching our own cases and reports of scams, fraud, and exploitation that there is a niche of criminals that specifically target Florida and Florida's senior population. And they do that for the reasons we discussed earlier: vulnerability, lack of inclination to report. All of these reasons go into that. But because of that, we knew coming in that we weren't going to succeed just by better training law enforcement, prosecutors, consumer protection attorneys, other government officials. We knew that we were going to have to better educate the seniors about the trends we were seeing on the up end, because we cannot be everywhere at once. And so we developed two really remarkable programs. I'm also hoping that this will spread into other states. One is our Consumer Alert Program, looking at trends within Florida and the nation, also working with FTC and others. We are pushing out alerts when we start seeing a particular scam or scheme pick up speed and ensnare more and more victims. That has been extraordinarily successful in getting information into our office. As you all know, we have a scam hotline, 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. When we see trends, not only are we pushing out that information, it also helps us get more information in the door so that we can see if there's a trend that we need to further pursue. That is a great program, and the media actually will help us get the word out on some of those schemes. But particularly as it applies to older Floridians who may not have access to download information from the web or that sort of thing, we wanted to make sure that we had the traditional paper in hand that describes stuff. So we created trifolds in a Scams at a Glance series for the different most common scams, especially as it relates to seniors, so that friends or loved ones could print those off and actually go over them with their loved ones using the trifolds. I would invite any of you to visit the website and check those out. They're very helpful. They may be useful to you in your work. Again, that's our Scams at a Glance series, and you can get those at myfloridalegal.com/scams-at-a-glance. It helps us in our efforts if Floridians are better informed and aware of what to look out for to guard against fraud. As many of you know, and I know some of you have worked with our Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, we know that unit, because of its name, focuses on fraud as it relates to Medicaid, but there's also what we call a pain team, and that is a unit that investigates and combats patient abuse, neglect, and exploitation in facilities that receive payments under Medicaid. And so the investigations will take us right into Florida nursing homes and assisted living facilities where some of our most vulnerable citizens live. And we're always collaborating with our federal counterparts and sometimes local law enforcement to make sure that team is effective and that our efforts are in fact producing results, protecting seniors. So I appreciate the time today to check in with you, to tell you what our office has been up to. As you can see, whether it's developing new teams, passing new legislation, developing programs specifically to help seniors, haven't let up in the 2 years. And I'm just as inspired and passionate about this topic today as I was 2 years ago when I took office. You know, I truly believe that our seniors deserve the ability to enjoy Florida and age with dignity and respect, and that we as leaders and those that work in this area with them do everything we can to always assess how we're doing things and how we can improve. And that's certainly what we do every day to protect seniors from those who would exploit them. It warms my heart that everybody on this conference has the same passion and dedication that I do. That's why I love to be with you to talk about my number one priority. And I'm very hopeful that this progress report gets much better reviews than my one so long ago. Thank you again for the invitation to join you today. And most importantly, thank you again for everything that you do to protect Florida seniors.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Moody. That was a great progress report. I appreciated hearing about that. And thank you for all you do to use the law as a sword and a shield to protect our vulnerable seniors while saving and supporting our independence. So thank you for your time today. And to everyone joining us, we will see you at the next session.